You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast. As always, I'm Dan Barrett here from AdWords Nerds. Whoa, I gotta tell you guys, it has been quite the day here at AdWords Nerds headquarters. I had a sort of a very rough morning, very rough afternoon, but I definitely wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys because this is going to be a slightly different episode. I am going to get into a subject that's going to seem a little bit far afield of the classic REI online marketing stuff that we cover. But I promise this is going to come back to things that you can absolutely apply, not just to your real estate investing business and not just to marketing for more motivated sellers and more deals, which of course is always what we want, but this is going to be something you can actually apply back to your personal life and hopefully make your personal life a more pleasant, rational, wonderful place. So I think this is going to be really exciting. I think you're going to get a lot out of it. So bear with me if it doesn't seem super obvious how it's going to connect right in the beginning. But today, I want to talk about one of the biggest improvements I've made to my mindset over the last year and a half or so. And, I think of this very similarly to kind of downloading software onto a computer, right? You got a computer and it does the stuff that it does and it's great, but you can download new software to that computer and expand its capacity. And much in the same way, I'm always reading and I'm looking for new things to learn and new things to understand that are going to help me live my life. And one of the most important ones, the highest impact ones, the highest leverage ones, has been systems thinking. And this had a huge effect on how I run my business, how I run my personal life, how I think through problems, how I do my marketing, literally everything. And it's just had a huge impact on me. And it's something that I'm going to get into a little bit today and hopefully just wet your whistle. If people still say wet your whistle, I'm going to wet your whistle about systems thinking. Hopefully just get some curiosity in you so you can go out and learn more about this on your own. Now, what is systems thinking? The systems thinking is actually an academic discipline. This is something that people are studying in college, in academia, something they're writing very fancy books on. We're going to keep this high level here and primarily just talk about how you can use it, what it is, how you can use it. All right. And the way to get into what systems thinking really is to contrast it with the way that we normally think through problems. And we usually approach our problems linearly, which is in a straight line. Right? This is kind of how we naturally think about things. If you think about a problem or an issue that you're running into, you really think about it like saying, okay, what is the cause of the problem? And what's the effect that cause is having? And how do I then fix the cause or change the effect? Right? So you think about this classic problem. You got to walk to work or you're walking down the street and it's raining. Okay, so the problem is it's raining. If I walk outside, I'm going to get wet, right? So that's that cause and effect chain there. Really a pretty straight line. And if I want to solve the problem, what do? Well, I get an umbrella. I get the umbrella. I'm not going to get wet. Therefore, I've solved the problem. Linear thinking, cause and effect, A and B, really straightforward, right? And that's an amazing way to think. It's a very rational thing to do. There's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that most of reality is in the straight line, right? Most of reality is not one cause having one effect. Most of reality is a system and a series of interlocking systems. And systems don't run in a straight line. In fact, the defining element of a system is that it's got multiple elements all interacting with each other. And so there's not one cause and there's not one effect. Everything affects everything else. So let's give you a slightly different example. Let's take an example from investing. And let's specifically get into online marketing to connect this all with the subject of this podcast. And we'll think about this through the lens of systems thinking. Okay. So a real common issue is that an investor will get into online marketing. Let's say they're going to do Google AdWords, but it could be Facebook ads, whatever it is. It could even be direct mail. Doesn't matter. They're getting into this and they're saying, okay, I want $50 leads. Okay. So they get online, they hire someone to run their ads, and they're working with this person and the leads are more than $50. Okay. And basically to say, hey, they're kind of expensive. If we want to lower our cost per lead, we got to get more leads. Okay. And the way you get more leads is by bumping up your bids. So you're going to raise your bids to get a higher position for your ads. That's going to get you more leads. Okay. So again, linear thinking here, right? I want more leads. I got to get a higher position. To get a higher position, I got to raise my bids, meaning I got to spend more per click. Okay. So therefore, raise the bid, higher position, get more leads, bing, bang, boom. It's going to be great. Now, if things worked in a straight line, that would make sense. You would raise your bids, you'd get a higher position, you'd get more leads, everybody would be happy. But AdWords or Facebook ads or any market, it's not a straight line. It's a system. And remember, what do we say about systems? In systems, all the parts interact. So let's say this investor wants more leads. They raise their bids and the position of their ad jumps up and they start to get more leads. Awesome. But it doesn't stop there because there are competitors in this investor's market. Okay. And maybe their competitors are like, hey, hold on a second. My ads used to be number one. Now I'm number two. And hey, like Joe Investor down the street, now he's number one. What's the deal? Now, are those competitors going to take that lying down? Maybe, but probably not, right? Probably not. Instead, what that investor is probably going to do is they're going to raise their bids too. So Joe Investor, remember in the beginning, he wanted more leads and he wanted a higher position for his ads to get those leads, so he bumped up his bids. Okay? But now his competitor is also raising his bids. So now everybody's raising their bids. Now what ends up happening is that Joe Investor goes back down to number two now, okay? Because his competitor bumped up their bids, right? So competition, bidding level, everything's going up. Now everybody is exactly where they started. Joe Investor, our guy, he's back in number two. The competitor is back at number one, but now everybody is paying more. Nobody's getting any extra leads. Nobody's anywhere other than where they started, but everyone is worse off. And that's what you get when you don't understand how the pieces of a system interact. Again, if it's a straight line, you do A, you get B, that has C result, awesome. But in a system, you do A and that affects B, but it also affects C and it also affects D, and then G and F and H and I and everything else is interconnected. And the thing that ends up happening, well, maybe you predicted it, maybe you didn't. It's very hard to understand what drives what outcome. So we can go from linear thinking where it's like, hey, raise your bids, get a higher position, get more leads, easy to understand, versus the system situation, which is much closer to reality, which is, hey, I raised my bids and now I'm paying more, but I'm not getting anything extra. You got to understand in a system situation how those different elements interact.
Are you an investor who wants to dominate your local market? Do you want more leads and deals online? Then download your copy of the Motivated Seller Blueprint, absolutely free, at www.adwordsnerds.com/gift. What are you waiting for? Go to www.adwordsnerds.com/gift right now to get your copy of the Motivated Seller Blueprint.
Now let's go back. Let's start with that same problem. We got Joe Investor. He wants to raise his position so he can get more leads. Okay. And we know that the first time we did it, we kind of approached it with that linear mindset. He raised his bids. The competitors raised their bids. Everybody was worse off. Nobody got any extra leads. All right. Let's take a step back. Let's think about it from the beginning with a systems thinking perspective. I might think through all the possible scenarios that might happen. I might say, okay, if I do this, what will my competitors do? What will the market do? What will AdWords do? How will this change? How many impressions? How many clicks? What keywords? I think through all that stuff. And instead of raising my bids, maybe what I decide to do is focus on increasing my quality score. All right, now like the technical details are not super important here. Suffice it to say, quality score or relevancy score in Facebook. These are just numbers that basically these ad networks use to rate your performance. And the better your score, the less you have to pay. Okay, so it's like an incentive to make better and better ads, which is cool, right? So if you raise your quality score in Google, you raise your position, but you don't have to pay more. In fact, many of the times you end up paying less. So remember in the first scenario, I raised my bids and I took over the top spot, but my competitor saw that. And so he raised his bids and I went back down and everyone's paying more. But if I increase my quality score instead, so I don't raise my bid, but I make my ads better, my position still increases. But now I'm paying less. So I'm not paying more, I'm paying less, but I'm actually getting more leads. Now my competitor, I'm sure, will notice this. Just like in scenario number one, my competitor will notice this. And what's he gonna do? He's gonna do what he did the first time. He's gonna raise his bids. So he bumps up his bids even more. But remember, I never raised my bids. I just improved my quality score. So now I'm paying less. He's paying more than he was before. Now that puts him at a real disadvantage. So now if I raise my bids, I can probably crush him over the long term. He's going to be paying way more than me because I have this quality score advantage. So we can see how approaching problems in a different way, in a systems thinking way, thinking through the potential outcomes, the repercussions, of how every element is related to every other element, gives us different options for attacking the same problem. Now, I originally started thinking about this, doing this podcast because I mentioned in the beginning, right? I had a real rough morning, rough afternoon. And, this morning I'm getting out of bed and, my kids, I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they are crawling all over me, jumping on me. I'm like all bleary-eyed, tired. And I kind of like stagger into the bathroom to brush my teeth. And my youngest son comes in and he kind of knocks my iPhone off the sink where I'd put it. And it kind of smashes on the ground. And I got real angry. And I don't usually get angry at my kids. I'm usually pretty calm around my kids, but I got upset and I yelled. And that made him feel bad. It made me feel bad. So then I got into the office and I just couldn't focus. And I had a lot of trouble concentrating. And I'm just like, something is bothering me. Like, what is it? Right? And I realized, I'm having trouble focusing. I'm having trouble working because I yelled at my son. Right? I had guilt, dad guilt. If you are a parent, a mom or a dad, or you know this parental guilt thing is very real. It's very real. Everybody gets it because everybody screws up with their kids. So, you have this real sense of guilt and it's messing me up. I'm not on my game. So I'm thinking through this problem and it's like, if I'm thinking through this in a linear way, right, I might say like, well, I've got to work harder at not yelling at my kid. I've got to make sure that I don't yell. I've got to be more calm. I might think of like all these things I could do, but I'm already trying to do that, right? So instead I thought of it, sort of took a step back and I look at this problem and I said like, okay, like what are all the things that affect my behavior that might have attributed or might have contributed to this problem, right? Because I'm not focusing at work. I'm not focusing at work because I yelled at my kid this morning. So like what contributed to that? And I just kind of do just a general scan of like how I feel and what's going on in my life. And I'm like, well, I have a lot of work stress lately. We're changing a whole lot of systems. We've been growing. Our team is growing. It's just a lot of things changing. We're moving. We're in the middle of a move. That's super stressful. So new environment, old routines aren't there. And I kind of realized too, it's like, oh, I didn't sleep well. I haven't been sleeping well at all this week. And when I don't sleep well, definitely my temper flares up, right? So that's a big part of it. Well, why aren't I sleeping well? Well, I'm not sleeping well because I'm not in my bed. I'm actually in a temporary house while we're waiting for our new house to close. So I'm in this new house on a new bed and the bed's not super comfortable. And even more than that, I have these pillows where it's like, you ever like go to a hotel and you go to stay at a hotel and they have that pillow. I swear these pillows are like always at hotels where you go and you lay down on the pillow and then like 5 minutes later, your head is like touching the mattress and all the fluffy stuff in the pillow has like shot to the sides and it's like around your ears instead of under your neck. Do you know what I'm talking about? I really hope people know what I'm talking about. It's just like it just flattens out and there's like nothing there. And then you basically don't have a pillow anymore. Well, that's the kind of pillow that I have on this bed that's in this house that's not mine. And I end up waking up multiple times during the night and trying to like reposition the pillow and like fold it over and prop it up. And it's like a pain in the butt. It's waking me up. It's fragmenting my sleep. And because it's fragmenting my sleep, it's making my temper worse. And because my temper's worse, when my son woke me up early and then knocked over my phone, I got angry at my son. And then because I got angry at my son, I felt guilty at work. And because I felt guilty at work, I wasn't able to focus. So I'm like, okay, well, there's a lot of things contributing to this issue, but what are the things I have control over? I don't really have control over the move right now. It's going to close when it closes. We're just on schedule. I can't speed it up. And the stuff at work is actually good. It's a little stressful, but we're growing. Things are going well. So I can't really do a lot about that. The thing I can affect is the pillow. I can buy a new pillow. And in fact, there's like a Tempur-Pedic store down the street from where we're staying, and I can go down there and get a really, really nice pillow. And that, whatever it is, I don't know how much they cost. Let's say it's $100, lot for a pillow. But that investment of $100, if that investment of $100 to get a better pillow, to get a better night's sleep so that my anger and temper is better, so that I don't blow up at my kids, so that I don't feel guilty, so that I can focus at work. And if all I do is get 5% more productivity out of my day at work, I'm going to make many, 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 many times the investment of that $100. And that's systems thinking. It's looking at a problem not just as a straight line from one cause to one effect, but thinking about how all the elements of a system interact with each other. And then trying to have the biggest possible positive effect with the absolute smallest input or change. So again, bring this back to real estate marketing, right? Bring it back to real estate marketing. If you're looking at a market, think about the market not just as a straight line problem, but as a system where all the elements connect. And think about what small element you could change or move or modify that's going to affect the system as a whole. It's a really, really interesting way of thinking through your problems. There's a lot of stuff out there about systems thinking. There are people out there that know way more about this stuff than me, and there's a lot of really, really classic books. I'm going to recommend a book that I finished reading a couple weeks ago. This is like the 5th or 6th book I've read on systems thinking lately, but this is, I think, the best beginner's book of systems thinking, because it not only gives you the basics of how systems thinking works, but it also tells you directly how to apply it to your everyday life and even to some really cool societal problems. The book is called The Art of Thinking in Systems, The Art of Thinking in Systems, and it's by Stephen Schuster. Schuster, Stephen Schuster. And by the way, I'm going to have a link to this book as well as all the stuff from this episode in the show notes. You can get to those at adwordsnerds.com/podcast. That's adwordsnerds.com/podcast. By the way, guys, if you are not a member of the REI Marketing Nerds Facebook group, what are you doing? First of all, it is free. Second of all, I am in there every single day during the week posting nonstop content. There are a ton of really amazing investors in there sharing tips, tricks, strategies, sharing numbers, showing what works for them, showing what hasn't worked for them. It's an incredible community. There are no hard pitches here. This is not a sales vehicle for us. We constantly police it for spam. So it's not one of these investing groups where just people constantly post deals and saying, hey, I need hard money or whatever it is. This is a incredibly high quality community. If you are listening to this podcast and you're not in that group, you are missing out. So I want you to go to adwordsnerds.com/group. It's adwordsnerds.com/group. You'll be taken directly to the Facebook group. Apply to be a member. We would love to have you. And let me know if you use some systems thinking either in your business or your personal life. It's been a real eye-opener for me. It's been massively, massively valuable. I hope you got some value out of this. I am going to go home today and I'm going to go buy a fancy pillow and I'm going to sleep like a freaking baby. Okay, and I wish you the same. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your week. I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.